What's going on, everyone? Jared Sandler here with our Rangers pregame news and notes. Dane Dunning making the start in Minnesota after the Rangers take 3 of 4 from Boston. The Rangers have had 2 4-game series this year, and twice they've taken 3 of 4, Tampa and Boston, 2 AL East teams. So now they take on the AL Central. They've already done that, having already faced the Royals and the White Sox. And Dane Dunning has an interesting challenge ahead of him. This is the second time in his young career he will have faced an opponent for a second time. Last year, he faced the Royals twice in back-to-back outings, mind you. It was his second and third career outings. The first time he went 5 scoreless. Second time he allowed 3 runs on 5 hits over 4 2/3. So obviously Kansas City, just based on the numbers without having gone back and watched that game or being there, it appears based on the numbers, Kansas City, second time against Dunning, was able to make some adjustments. Now, this is obviously not taking place in, back-to-back outings, but he did face Minnesota once last year. There are 8 guys on the Twins who have seen him. All 8 of those guys have seen him at least twice. Now, not all of them are in the lineup, but there is some familiarity with Dane Dunning. And so I'm interested to see how Dane Dunning does a second time around. Now, I'm going to be more interested to see when it happens within the same year, but it doesn't change the fact that Byron Buxton and Max Kepler and some of these guys have faced Dane Dunning. Now, if you're curious as to what level of success some current Twins have had, Byron Buxton, who we'll talk about in a second, has a home run. He's 2 for 3 off them. Nelson Cruz 1 for 3. No other Twin has a hit off of him, although he has faced Donaldson and Kepler and Sano and names there. So it'll be interesting to see how he does, here against the Twins. Now, in Dane's last start, he didn't start off so well. He gave up 4 runs in the first inning and then didn't give up any runs the rest of the way. Doug Mathis went out in the middle of the first inning when the damage had been done. And it seemed like at the time, and it was confirmed afterwards, that Doug had made a mechanical adjustment, that he had noticed a flaw from the dugout. It involved Dane's front shoulder opening up. All right. So as a right-handed, I'm a lefty. So as a right-handed pitcher, if I'm here, the plate's here, facing you, you want to keep that shoulder closed. All right. So, I lift up. It's tough to do on Zoom. You don't want to open up as you're going to the plate. You want to try to keep your shoulder closed as long as possible. It looks awkward because I'm a lefty, but basically his front side shoulder was opening up. That impacts location, that impacts the consistency of your pitches, and in some cases the movement of your pitches. After that adjustment, Dane Dunning was great. And so perhaps that's all it was. Maybe he just, was able to have, maybe some better luck than, whatever. But the adjustment was made and he was a lot better. So I'm curious to see how he does again today. I will say, in talking to people, there's certain pitchers who aren't able to make adjustments mid-game. That's just not a strength of theirs. They have a very tough time making mechanical adjustments mid-game. Some are able to, others not as well. Good on Dane Dunning for being able to do that. That's it's a good sign. And that kind of goes in line with what we've heard about Dane Dunning up here. All right, so we mentioned Byron Buxton. That's going to be a guy to watch this series. So I remember Byron Buxton when he was playing for the Cedar Rapids Colonels, the A-ball affiliate of the Twins, and he and Carlos Correa were in the Midwest League. Both were, highly known and touted prospects, and both were really, really impressive. When the Great Lakes Loons, the team for whom I was broadcasting, finally got to play Cedar Rapids because we weren't in the same division, so we didn't see them as much. I think in the first game we saw Byron Buxton. He got hit by a pitch, if I'm not mistaken, and missed some time. So barely got to see him then. But he was the talk of the league. As a major leaguer, Buck, he's known by Buck, Byron Buxton has had flashes. He's had stretches where it's like, oh, he's putting it together. And he's been around since 2015. Injuries have impacted him. He has only played over 100 games once, and in several of those seasons, he was given the opportunity to be an everyday player. The last 2 years, it seemed like he was finally putting stuff together. But again, injuries getting in the way. This year, he's been healthy, and he just won the American League Player of the Month. This is a guy who, has the ability to be a true 5-tool player. He is one of the fastest sons of guns in the majors. He has big boy power. and already has 8 home runs to go along with 9 doubles, a slugging percentage of over 840, which is best in the majors. His OPS is second best in the majors behind Mike Trout. He's hitting over 400. He can play a really, really good center field, maybe too good, because that's where some of his injuries come, getting to balls that other people wouldn't around the wall and stuff in these collisions and diving and this and that. He's got a great arm. He is a super fun player to watch. This is a guy the Twins felt like they could build their lineup around when he was acquired years ago in the draft, and coming up through their system, and injuries and various things just, wasn't allowing it to be the case. Byron Buxton's a guy who's made some really, really significant adjustments. If you look at Byron Buxton last year, and last year was a good year, also small sample size, but if you look at last year, Byron Buxton became the 4th player ever with at least 100 plate appearances to have an on-base percentage that was, a slugging percentage that was more than 2 times his on-base percentage. He got on base last year about 27% of the time. He had a slugging percentage just under 600. All right. That's in part because he chased more than anyone in Major League Baseball last year. As a matter of fact, his chase rate, other than Hanser Alberto's last year, was the second most in Major League Baseball. Hanser Alberto chased more than anyone else in history since zone tracking data began. That was in 2002. So since 2002, Hanser Alberto's 2020 season with Baltimore featured the highest percentage of chase swings ever, 54%. Byron Buxton was second in the majors last year, 5th since 2002. This year, he's chasing about 34.5% of the time. He's chasing about 14.5% less frequently than he did last year. That's one of the biggest turnarounds. He's also swinging less. He also had one of the highest swing rates last year, which makes sense, goes in line with that. And he's been able to be a little more disciplined, or at least a little more choosy. Still swings a lot, but not as much. He ranks second in the majors in batting average, 4th in on base. We mentioned 1st in slugging, 2nd in OPS, tied for 5th in homers, tied for 6th in doubles. This is a guy who is having a great year, and someone who I think it's good for baseball that he's doing well. Obviously, hope the Rangers contain him here over the next 4 games. All right, let's talk about the bullpen. The Rangers bullpen has been outstanding over the last 7 games. Not a coincidence that it kind of coincides with not only Brett Martin coming back, but Joely Rodriguez coming back, and pieces falling into place. You're now no longer asking Brett DeGust to pitch, significant innings. You're allowing Brett DeGust to ease his way in, and credit to Josh Sborz, who pitched really well each of the last 2 games, for really emerging as a relied upon late arm reliever in this pen. But over the last 7 games, they've thrown 31 1/3 innings, a 1.15 ERA, 173 batting average, an OPS just over 400, 25 strikeouts, which is, there's nothing crazy about 25 strikeouts in 31 1/3 innings. Less than a strikeout per inning, out of the bullpen, that's probably on the low end, but 5 walks. That's key. Just 5 walks issued, 13.5 pitches per inning. The bullpen over the last 7 games has been outstanding. Credit to them. All right, Willie Calhoun, he is on a streak. 9-game hitting streak, career best for Willie. I went and looked it up. Hitting streaks are not as, or at least long hitting streaks are not as common now, because batting average continues to drop. Batting average is at an all-time low, and it's been trending that way the last few years. So it stands to reason, if hits are not coming nearly as frequently, hitting streaks are not going to occur, in the double-digit plus range nearly as often. The Rangers have had just 2 hitting streaks of 10 games or more in the Chris Woodward era. And that's not a knock on Woody. This is not representative of that. It's just, for time reference. Since 2019, only 2, both of them coming last year. 14 games for Izzy, 10 games for Todd Frazier. Willie has a chance to get a 10-game streak with a base hit today. It's been great watching him this year. We've talked about how big of a year this is for Willie. He's been really good. He's using the other field, all right, not necessarily driving the ball there, but with 2 strikes, he's making contact, and with the shift on, a ground ball to the left side has a decent chance of being a base hit because there's just one guy there. So credit Willie for that, but for the most part, he has really been driving the ball. Center field, right center field. We're seeing in a small stretch the guy the Rangers hope that they would see develop when they acquired him from the Dodgers. The key here is A, Willie staying healthy, and B, it happening over a larger sample size, and to some degree, A and B are linked with one another. Brock Holt, just an update, tight hammy. He's probably not going to play tomorrow against the lefty, and they're just going to give him today and tomorrow off, not believed to be a significant concern. I get asked all the time, what do managers do when they get ejected? And we talked to Woody about this. So just, give you a little peek. Woody's watching the TV while listening to the radio. He does listen to the radio because the TV's on a little bit of a delay. He was talking to Joey Gallo. They were talking shop for a couple innings. Both of them got ejected. John Daniels was down there. They were talking. Doug Mathis, the pitching coach, would go down and just go over some things with Woody. So there's a lot of conversation. It's not like Woody's sitting there kicking up, drinking a cold one or anything. So that's a little insight as to what goes on there. Finally, one little around Major League Baseball nugget for you right now. Dustin May is going to have UCL reconstruction surgery. He's going to miss the rest of the year. This stinks. Justin, Texas guy, the carrot top head. He's someone who really was coming into his own this year. Someone who threw and still throws. Maybe not this moment, 100 miles an hour with the movement. I mean, you hear that a lot of 100-mile-an-hour fastballs are flat or straight, not Dustin May's. And he finally was figuring out how to use his stuff to strike guys out. 35 strikeouts in 23 innings. It really looked like Dustin May was starting to emerge as a super stud. He's going to miss the rest of the year, probably the beginning of next year, and hopefully he can pick up where he left off. The 23-year-old Dustin May from Justin, Texas. That's a tough blow for the Dodgers. All right, that's going to do it here for our pregame news and notes. More tomorrow. Talk to y'all later.